BIQ Blue, Automated BigQuery Optimizer. Best performance, lowest costs. Mission accomplished. What do you do at NielsenIQ Digital Purchases?
I am the technical director at NielsenIQ Digital Purchases, a company specializing in market analysis for e-commerce in particular.
My role at the moment is mainly to take care of BigQuery and reduce costs.
How do you use BigQuery?
BigQuery is really the main engine of the data stack. It's thanks to this that we can store large volumes of data around a petabyte, and it offers us great execution power for very complex queries. Most of our ETL processes and dashboards rely on BigQuery, directly or through internal tools like Looker Studio, Tableau, Airflow, Dataform.
What were the issues encountered with BigQuery?
Mainly, quite quickly, as soon as we scaled a bit, it was cost control. The BigQuery model is to charge based on the volume of data we scan. The more pipelines we had, the more users we had, so we have reached peaks in billing. We went up to more than $150,000 per month. An example is a lead developer who does a select star on a table of 500 gigabytes to test a tool. Every file modification restarted the process, so in 1 hour, we paid $2,000 just like that. Fortunately, it didn't last long because we had alerting in place.
Been able to identify, alert, and cut off access immediately. We had a bug at the end of November and noticed it thanks to BIC. It was a service in a test environment that went out of control, making very costly requests very regularly. We were able to notice it thanks to the monthly recap page, where we saw an outlier in the services. We quickly identify and stop the expenses that were $400 per day.
Then, it was about understanding the uses we had, understanding which project, what the tables are, which teams generate these costs, and how to optimize the queries.
How did you manage BigQuery costs before Big Blue?
Before, we had several approaches. The GCP alerts, there are budget alerts on GCP to be alerted when we exceed a threshold. But since it's not detailed enough to know which project, which table, which team, there's manual monitoring based on billing data. But it gives me recurring manual work to update. It's not easy to identify them, to extract the real causes anyway. And otherwise, it's all about making speed. Query is efficient, but there are several usage models for BigQuery, so some racking practices are not always ideal and can lengthen the calculation times. It can also potentially increase costs without generating value. And otherwise, it's something we have always done before, but it was aided by Big Blue, but it's about internal awareness, training the teams in the best practices of queries, therefore on how to make queries, partition, do clustering, materialize tables, materialize views, etc.
Is Big Blue easy to install?
The setup is really quick. It's a service account to set up. Then it only uses schema information views. We immediately have access to usage reporting for the past 6 months with recommendations. So it's a bit magical and very easy to implement. We had looked a bit at other existing solutions on the market of tools that are either very FinOps, very macro, or then you have to go through companies that will make us spend days consulting experts, etc. In any case, it's extremely expensive, without really having a precise vision of what we will gain in the end. There, Big Blue is the tool that all BigQuery users are required to develop in their team from, of a certain level of spending. Except here, it's already available, ready, off the shelf. It's highly actionable by the teams. We can directly see how much we can save by taking very concrete actions. The setup of alerting, doing name and shame, and knowing who does what.
Control costs. I use almost all the pages of Big Blue daily, but there are 3 in particular that I check very regularly. The first one is the recap of the current month, which is very practical for seeing the day-to-day progression of what is happening and then detecting outliers in terms of either user or service. Then I often use the storage page to identify which data sets are expensive, which tables are no longer used, so we can clean them up afterward. I often use the Analyze Job page to identify cost anomalies, processes that are too expensive, and over a fairly localized time period, which process costs more expensive than expected. It has become the control center for BigQuery. It allows us to spot incidents, identify queries to optimize, and decide on the next cost-saving initiative. I always have one or more BigQuery tabs open.
What was the biggest impact of Biq Blue for you?
Since at least January 2024, our costs were constantly increasing. By September, we really started using Big intensively. Since then, our costs have been decreasing every month. It really helps identify what costs us a lot and optimize them. Without external tools, BigQuery is still very opaque, and we lack a lot of visibility. Big gives us a precise idea of what is happening and how to set up BigQuery for immediate benefits. And finally, the automatic alerts, the other graphs, they allow us to quickly identify abnormal behavior and correct it. We have alerting on a Slack channel, and so every time we exceed a threshold, either a physical user or a service, we get an alert. It allows for quick intervention, to start a discussion with the concerned teams. If you are having trouble managing your costs on BigQuery, Biq Blue is clearly made for you. It's a tool that has allowed us to reverse the trend of an increase still.
Constant while educating our teams on best practices and possible optimizations. Since we implemented it and started really using it, actively, we managed to reduce our costs by almost half. It's pretty clear that it's quite effective. It's a responsive team that keeps moving forward, regularly delivering new features and adding even more value. So it's really cool.